Hi guys, it's another beautiful time to host another interesting and exciting personality on this show. Remember, it's authoring yourself into authority, wealth, and fame, where we are interviewing authors that have been published under the Warito brand and how they are doing the amazing work using their books to grow fame, authority, and wealth. And today, this evening, 6 p.m. West African time, I have with me another great personality, Anita. Anita, all the way from Canada. And you see, tech is bridging a divide. I'm here in Nigeria and I'm connecting with someone in Canada. So today this session, we're going to be asking some questions regarding what she's doing with her book, her life, and we're going to be gaining some beautiful insights from what she's doing as she's growing authority, wealth, and fame. Welcome, Anita.
Thank you, Emeka. I'm really glad to be here, and very special thanks to Worrytel for putting this together. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on your new job. I know that we have just 30 minutes to be here, but we know that we are going to do justice to squeezing a whole lot into the 30 minutes, like squeeze out some juice from orange, right? Into the 30 minutes.
Absolutely, no problem. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. So I read your bio and what you're doing now. Your experience from childhood is the fulcrum for what you're doing now. Your exploits now. Helping individuals to speak up when it has to do with sexual abuse and all. Can
Yes.
you give us a little bit background of that journey? I'm not saying give us specific details because I know sometimes when we try to refer to the past, there's some bad emotions and energies that come up. But if you could, gloss over that specifically, but just give us a little bit of the rundown of your journey, what happened, and how you have decided now to be a voice for as many individuals who have been abused sexually.
Hey, awesome. Thank you very much. So I have no problem. I should tell you going over specifics if I need to. I happen to have been over that, so it's great. And so yes, just very quick, synopsis of my experience is that between the ages of 7 and 17, I was sexually molested by various people, including two close family members, and that's kind of like the bane of the book. But over the years, and it's one question that, when I was putting my book out to certain people, mentors to review, one question that kept coming up was, why now? Right. And that is the question that, for me, even was a question that I had to ask at the point of writing the book. And one response that I always have to that is that over that course of period when the experiences started, one of the things that happened over and over was it wasn't that I didn't want to speak up, it wasn't that I didn't try to, but that I either didn't have the environment conducive enough to speak up, or those that I spoke up to did nothing, or in some other cases, they sort of just put me on the spot with an abuser and I didn't know what to say or do. And then I was re victimized. And so at the point when I decided to write my book and write my story, what had prompted that was I started seeing trickles of some of the side effects in my adulthood. And one thing I could trace it back to was the fact that I had not fully dealt with what I had experienced. And the problem is that that silence and secrecy over the years had started to eat up at me, and I could not do that anymore. Now, I had an option of suicide or I had an option of speak up, and I chose to speak up. And one other thing that I realized was that just like me, a lot of people are in that cycle of silence. And that cycle of silence creates a lot more issues, mental health problems, relationship issues. Let's not even talk about trust, but that in being bold enough to open up and share our story, we break the cycle of silence. And in breaking the cycle of silence, there is power that really comes back to you. And all of a sudden, you realize that no, I am not the victim here. And I don't have to continue to be the victim, because refusing to admit that this happened to me was something that continued to empower my abusers, even though none of them are currently in my life anymore. And so, really getting to the point where I wrote the book, it was about giving myself voice, but also giving other people permission to say you can speak up. And I didn't care if it meant I had to air all of my dirty laundry. The goal was to get people to get comfortable in learning to speak up. And I really hope that I've been able to achieve that with the book. And quite frankly, with the reviews that I've gotten from lots of people, I know that I have been able to achieve that. And I'm just looking for more opportunities to continue to do just that.
Thank you so much for giving us an insight into what happened and how you have decided to deal with the situation. So your book. It's, let me call it, a tool for dealing with the issues of your life, and also I think that your book Reve-Healed is also a tool that other individuals who have survived or who have been abused over time can also use to be able to get away from the pains of the past and be able to live their lives. Because I know I've met quite a few, let me not say a lot, but some young ladies, that have been abused. There was one that visited me just recently, where I was doing
Mhm.
my video shoot, and I just noticed that if I come close to her, she just shot, she just, there's
Yeah.
this, I don't know what to call it. She would just,
She goes
that,
into like a shock
yeah, like a
experience.
shock,
Yeah.
and
It's
she kept on
trigger.
doing it. Yeah, she just kept on doing it and doing it, and then and I began to think, what's making this girl behave this way? So I just, when everybody was just, people were, my team were somewhere, so I just called her and I'm like, why are you shaking? Why are you shuddering when someone just like, it's me? We are here. We're not nobody. And so she began to narrate how it all happened to her, how she was abused. And the painful part was that she's hard of hearing, so she doesn't hear.
Mm,
So except when you come close to her and then you have a conversation, she can now read your lips. And so
right.
I began to ask her what happened. I mean, she began to tell me that it's very traumatic for her now. She doesn't even know when she does it.
Mm,
Her body just, experiences that shock when someone comes close, because
yes.
I mean, I felt so bad just listening to her, and some other
Hmm.
ones also hug. A hug just triggers it. I remember one
Hmm.
particular one that I wanted to hug her, and the way she was just, I mean, it's painful. But I know that this book of yours, it's like a tool for them to be able to deal with these issues of their life, so that they can start to live healthier lives. So tell us about the book, its impact. What results have come? Because you just said said now that testimonies have come. So what impact has your book had in the lives of individuals? Just give us a rundown and why you actually decided to write a book.
Okay, absolutely. So, this is the book in question. And the book has not had impact only on individuals, quite frankly. It has had impact on organizations as well. It has had impact on churches. I'm a Christian, I go to church, and I had the privilege to have conversations with my pastors, and I talked to them about, the dangers of how these things happen. And so I'll start with individuals, actually. So people who have read the book have reached out, and quite a number of them, unfortunately, have been victims before of sexual abuse of one form or the other, ranging from, just sexual assaults all the way to even rape, and male and females alike. So it's not even something that happens to just women only, women and girls only. And for many of them, it's that, just reading through my story, and also reading through, because at the end of every chapter, I have nuggets that I provide. Some of them are statistical in nature to help us better understand the topic. Others are tools and, techniques that you can use to help yourself as an individual or as a caregiver or loved one of somebody who has experienced sexual violence of any form. And so for some people, it's that as they read the book, they realize that truly they are not victims, and they're able to tell themselves that. And some persons have reached out to say, look, after reading your book, I realized that I have all it takes to live life, and I don't have to be held back by this anymore. I had someone who was, had planned out suicide, because I also blog about some of these on the topic. And I had someone who had read, I can't remember if it was the book or a blog post, and said, I had already planned out my suicidal um mechanisms, and I was going to take my life 2 weeks from now. And then I came across, you and your story, and that changed things around for me. I've seen a lot of young people in universities who have picked up their lives, or are working on their grades, and are working towards, establishing themselves fully. And so for a lot of individuals, even for parents, I've seen parents who have reached out to say, oh my God, I can't believe that I've been very careless in how I've been parenting my children, understanding that this happened to me as a child. And so it's really helped open up a lot of conversations, getting people more comfortable to either share their stories, come to terms with what has happened to them, and seek help where they need it. And for some others, it's that it's kind of like an eureka moment where it's like, oh my God, I don't have to be held bound by this anymore. For some churches that I've had the honor and privilege of speaking at and talking about my story and my book, in my own church, for instance, we established a sexual violence policy, coming out of all of this, which is really great because it's something that most people don't think about. So I'll give you a quick insight into something here in Canada. You cannot work with children if you don't have a criminal record check. And that's part of the standard. But even just really enforcing that and making sure that everyone who comes in working with any group of our children have that kind of background check done. It's even more intentional now than ever before. And organizations are also reaching out because many of them have access to statistics, but not a lot of people are willing to share their stories. And so having someone who is willing to share their story, but also not just sharing the story, but you can see and tell that this person has walked this journey and come out victorious on the other side, it gives organizations something that they can work with to say, look, there are people behind the statistics we show you. There are people behind the stories we tell you. And there is possibility for you to continue to live life strong and beautiful and normal like anybody else. And maybe even much more impactful life than most people would have because of that experience. And this is someone who is a proof. And so really hearing some of that conversation has been great. And shows that the book is making the impact that I intended that it would have. And quite frankly, that's the reason I wrote the book. That and the fact that I was honestly, quite frankly, divinely instructed that the timing was right to do so, and haven't done that, with the pandemic as well. I wrote the book during the pandemic, and it just so happens that the timeliness was perfect because during the pandemic, we saw spike in cases of sexual violence and domestic violence as well. And so it couldn't have come at a better time. And I'm glad that I really put myself out there with the book and my story.
Wow, amazing! Listening to you, when we set out to write a book, for example, if I'm writing a
Mhm.
book now in my head or on paper, I'll write these. What we do in marketing, the avatar.
Yeah.
We say this is the individual that for who I'm writing this book for. So we write number one, number two, number three. But I think that even though you did such a thing, all these individuals you've mentioned now, from school undergraduates to those who are working in companies to those who have been abused, you can see that it's gone beyond even the ideal target audience to a lot more individuals. So
Mhm.
depending on that, what will you advise individuals who are watching or those who are going to watch this live stream regarding their unique experiences in life, whether they are positive or negative, and them intentionally and boldly putting those experiences in form of a book that can help other individuals' lives? Because what you're doing now, your book is now something that is lighting the darkness in people's lives. People are dependent on your book to be able to overcome a certain struggle. So,
Mhm.
what can you advise individuals who have these experiences but are not bold enough to start to put them in form of books that can be of a blessing? For example, there are some families that have had such issues, maybe physical violence or domestic violence or sexual abuse, but the individual who has gone through that experience doesn't want to make specific details in the book. Maybe it's going to
Mhm.
affect the father, or perhaps it's going to affect their mother, or it's going to affect, let's say, for example, now your father is a priest in the church, an
Mhm.
Anglican priest, let me use that. And that has happened in your family, and you want to write the book, and it's keeping the name of your dad as the oppressor himself could make the book very watery. And in that case,
Mhm.
you're now thinking, should I do it or should I not do it? What can you advise people in such a situation who are thinking of doing it or who are not even thinking, but in terms of being bold enough to put those experiences in the form of a book?
Okay, great question. So, and quite frankly, I know I had this conversation with my uh, editing team at the time, and they were wondering if I wanted to use like an avatar. But I decided to go against that, and I just wanted to be. I wanted everybody to know this is me. I didn't put names of any individuals. If people figure it out, well, all well and good. But there are several ways that one can go about that. Some people can write it as a fictional story. Some people can write it using an avatar. And so an avatar would mean that you're not using real names or real people, or maybe not even real scenarios, real scenes and location. so that people don't tie back to you directly, but you kind of use pseudonyms, pseudo locations to just mask the story. And the other way, really, like I said, is to write fictional stories, right? And just make it into like a, okay, this happened to someone in our imagination, not necessarily a real human being. The goal is that to first of all decide that you're going to live beyond yourself. The goal is to first of all decide that you're going to make an impact. The goal is to first of all decide that there has to be purpose tied to the book. Now, quite frankly, when I started putting this together, it was with the intent of making an impact in the lives of people. I love to help people find their voice, whether it's in experiences with sexual violence, whether it's in developing their careers, which is something I also happen to do because I'm a career coach. And in doing all of that, the goal is to create, it's the purpose there is to help people be better versions of themselves, whatever it is that they're doing. Now, and the next purpose is that people can find their voice. And the third thing is that I want to be able to reach as many people as possible, which then begs the question, what are some of the ways that I can expand my reach to get to people, as many people as possible who need to hear this what I have to say. And that's where the concept of writing a book comes in, is that I seek to make impact. I seek to, fulfill my purpose. And in doing that, a book just made sense because right now, Revealed is in 13 countries on Amazon, and that's not even including Nigeria. And through Warital, Reveal can reach as many African countries as possible. This book is in Liberia as I speak to you. It's in Congo Republic as I speak to you. And so in trying to expand that reach, you can take what you have, the experiences you have, and be purposeful about it, communicate it in a book. It doesn't even have to always be, like a hard copy published version. You can even do an e-version of the book if that's what you want, if that's what works for you. But the most important thing is that you're seeking to make impact. And in trying to make that impact, you're expanding your reach as much as possible. And that's, something that I know that having my book has really helped me do. Before now, I've been talking about my story, in bits and pieces here and there. But having a book and communicating that through a book, like I said, 13 countries outside of African continent alone, that really has some great impact that, I've seen it have. And so I would say that if you have something and we all have something, that's the truth. We all have something that we can share with people. If you have that, don't be afraid. Put it together into a concise manner. If you don't know what to do, speak out to Wordle, or they would help you package it very well and align it for you, edit it for you, make it look beautiful, and you can go out and share your story, share your knowledge, share your experience. But above all, seek to make impact. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Anita, for that. Thank you so much for this. This is what I keep harping on: individuals who have unique stories that they can share. Every one of us, we've got unique
We do.
stories. If I read your story, I get excited about your story. I get to learn from you. If I share like for example, now I'm in this is my background.
Yeah, and I love the nature.
you get what I mean? So you have another background, right? So if I share about
Yes,
my background now, by nature, you can share about you being in the room, right? So I read from you, you read from
absolutely.
me. So that's what it's all about. We read colors in people's lives, different perspectives and everything.
Hmm.
So Anita, tell us about because sometimes people now think, okay, I've written this book. This book is about lives. This book is about people who have been in pain, and it looks like as if you're making money because people are in pain, right?
Mm.
So give us your perspective. With regards to your book as a specific example, your perspectives and your takes on authoring yourself into authority, wealth, and fame. Now, your book is in more than 18 countries. I mean, it's beautiful, right? And I know that the
Hmm.
book is going to get into as many more countries as ever. That comes with recognition, that comes with
Absolutely.
fame, and I know that it was coming also with money. So give us your takes or your perspectives on authoring yourself into authority, wealth, and fame. Um, Harp a little bit on what people think about when they have written a book that has to do with pain. Most people collect money. For example, somebody goes in, some people come to me and they say they are depressed. Well, I used to attend to them before because I did a little bit of therapy, but man, the thing was affecting me a whole lot, my mental health
Hmm.
and all. So I started referring to specialists. Guys just go. But some of them come back and ask me that these people are asking me for money. Why should they be asking me for money because I'm depressed? You're not supposed to ask me for money. You're supposed to deal with my depression, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to reconcile. You're in pain, and then I'm asking you for money to solve your pain. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
maybe some individuals are already thinking, um, okay, you wrote this book. Why are you collecting money? You should be dealing with people who are in pain, helping them and their lives. So give us that your perspective on that, and also if you've experienced such with your book.
Okay, absolutely, I have. And quite frankly, it was one of the greatest years of struggle. People would say, well, if you really care about the impact you want to make, then why are you putting a price on this? Quite frankly, to start with, one thing I said earlier was that seek to make impacts. I didn't start off wanting to make money. I started off wanting to make impacts. And in trying to make that impact and expand the reach, it costs me money to do that. It cost me money to pay for a domain name on my website. It cost me money to get people to write on that website. It cost me money to do any form of marketing, that I want to do for the book. And so what I had done was, as much as possible, I tried to make sure that, my markup on, and by markup, I mean profit on each book is not so wide that, it's all about the money. Yes, it cost me money and I should be able to find a way to make sure that the book is funding itself. Because if I want to keep dipping into my personal funds to run the existence of the book, then I would run out of money. And if I run out of money, I can't make the impact that I seek to make. And so really I need to find a way to make sure that there's some form of financial continuity in that sense. So that's one reason why it's okay to put a price on what you're doing. And two is that it's knowledge that I'm sharing. It's knowledge and experience, and the knowledge and experience is something that took me time. And quite frankly, the truth is that we need to get to a point where we place value on ourselves. Now, for me, in my journey, I read lots of books from lots of people. One person in particular whose story mirrors mine a lot, and I followed and I read books of hers. Long before there were access to Facebook, no, maybe not Facebook, but long before there were access to a lot of things like what's Spotify and the likes of it. When I was in university, you would use your Discman. I'll buy tapes, I'll buy books of Joyce Meyer. I bought books of people like Renta Bynum, and I read their stories as a way to keep myself going, right? Because there was something in their lives and their experiences that I found valuable. And the truth is that sometimes if you don't put some form of price on something you're getting, you're not going to find the value in it. So putting the price on this or putting money on this, it's yes, I want to be able to make sure that I have a system that allows me to continue to expand that reach. And to do that, I need money to do that. And I don't want to go about asking people for that money. I work with a lot of non-profit organizations to try and get the book into the hands of people who really need them. But beyond even people who have been abused before, the book also helps parents see where sometimes in our parental blind spots we put our children in danger. So such a parent might not necessarily be somebody who has been a victim, but there is value in it for you because you can see how to protect your children from preying family members, or maybe even sometimes from yourself. And so when you see the value in what you're getting, then it shouldn't be a problem to put money on it. We get sick, we go to the hospital, we see a doctor, they bill us for it, right? Unless you're in countries like mine where medical this thing is free. And when you really think about it, it's not really free. You pay taxes, and it's your taxes that keep the doctors paid. If you don't pay taxes, the government will come after you because that's how they get you your free medical access. So really nothing is free in that sense. And then finally, the other piece is that again, it wasn't about the money at first. It was more about the impact. The money just naturally tends to flow when people are serious about making impact. And that's one thing that I'm learning, because even in my coaching business, it's the same thing I found. I didn't start out that trying to make money. I started out trying to make impact. And in making the impact, I needed to be more effective. I needed to be efficient. And sometimes putting those efficient, effective processes require you to put some things in place that require money. And if you now require money to do that and you want to sustain it and expand your reach so that more people are able to come out of that place where they're at, then you need to make sure that you put some form of system in place that allows you to automatically make some of that money and keep things going. And like I mentioned, I work with non-profit organizations, and the book gets to people who it needs to get to. There are ways to make that money. So, for instance, one thing I do is sponsorships. I can ask people to say, okay, sponsor books and then send them out. And I'm doing one right now. Actually, there's one going on right now. You buy a couple of books. I send them to these nonprofit organizations. A lot of them work with victims. They get the books into the hands of those victims who need to read them. So when you really think about it, someone is paying for it, and then it's getting to the places that it needs to get to. People take them to schools. There was an organization I partnered with in Lagos, and they had about 40 or 50 copies that they took to secondary schools where they teach. A lot of teenage girls who may have been victims in those schools now have access to the book. So there are lots of organizations like that I've had to deal with and work with, and they've been very effective in helping make sure that it gets into the right hands. So really, there's nothing wrong with, if you have a price on it. People value what they have put, what they have given something into, more than if they just got it for free of charge. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Anita. Thank you, thank you. You have even expanded my thinking about why we should charge for money when we produce our books. All the structure, everything you mentioned, the website, and all that. You know,
Hmm.
um, that's a very fantastic perspective. Okay, we just have 3 minutes for us to wrap up here before it becomes 30 minutes. So I want you to tell us, as a final question, tell us how we can work with you if they are your aspirations for 2023. If people work with you, if you have perhaps an NGO or something that people can work with you, how they can also reach you, and your final words as we wrap up on the session.
Okay, absolutely. So in 2023, I want to be able to work with at least 12 additional NGOs. Currently, I have about three that I work with, and I'm looking for 12 more next year to work with. I don't have an NGO myself. I personally don't believe in reinventing the wheel. Where I can build partnerships, I build partnerships rather than, start something right off the bat. And so I value partnerships and I value collaboration, and so I'm looking for 12 additional nonprofit organizations that are in the space of gender based violence. And I want to work with them in getting more books out to people. So I need sponsors for those books. I do need sponsors for those books. And the other thing, too, is that, as far as reaching out to me is concerned, I have a blog post where I expand more knowledge on the topic, but not just sexual violence, but also mental health. It's called loudsilences.org. So loudsilences.org. And on that website, on that blog post, we expand more on the topic. We share stories. People have started writing to me, and with their permission, I share the stories that they share. For some of them, it's how they're doing in their own journey, and as a way of helping other people find their voice and helping other people as well. So feel free to engage that platform and learn more and see how you can also be of benefit. But my biggest thing in 2023 is that I'm looking for more organizations to work with to get the message out, because I want us to change our mindsets, especially in our country, Nigeria. I'm a dual citizen. Here in Canada, there are systems that tend to protect people. So it's really just encouraging people to speak up, that we're really owning on here. Once you speak up, there are systems to protect you. There are systems to get you the help you need. In Nigeria, we have the culture of silence. My goal is to undo that culture. And so it takes a village. It takes everyone on board to really do that, as parents, as former victims, or survivors who are now thriving. It takes all of us to really do that. And that's what I'm asking for, is that we come together and undo the culture of silence, because that's where things like this thrive. But I also want to work more with organizations, and that's what I'm looking forward to building in 2023. I want to be able to touch all 36 plus the capital city, to deal with issues like this. But it takes all of us to do that.
Thank you so much, Anita. It's been such an interesting conversation. We look forward
Absolutely.
to truly undoing the culture. For me, there are certain stupid things that happen in my own culture. Imagine me having
Oh,
conversation now with my dad concerning burials, where people have to borrow money and all do all
oh,
sorts of
let's
rubbish
get started on that.
names of make it, burying the dead. Man, it's been a difficult
Hmm.
conversation with me and my father, but I just hope he's 76, and right now we're having conversations that have to do with death and burials and all that. But of course, he says he's I don't know if he's he's not in his hands. He's in the hands of the villagers. Whatever they say we should do, we should do. And I'm like, what if you sign something now and tell them when I'm dead, bury me like this,
What I
burn me
want.
up? I'm just saying, I don't know. So
Yeah.
it's tough having these conversations, with regards to things that happen in our culture, especially the ones that have to do with abuse and rape and all
Hmm.
sorts. So, but we will,
Yeah.
gradually, step by step, things will be changing as we keep in lending our voices to make the things happen. So, thank you very much for this
Absolutely.
conversation. God bless you
Yeah.
so much for
Thank you.
deciding
Thank you. It's
to
been
do this
fun.
take out time. Congratulations once more on your new job. We hope that more money will come into your pocket so that I can do a lot more for people. That's what we
Absolutely.
pray for. All right. So thank you from me
Thank
here
you.
in Owerri, to you in Canada, and to every other individual who tuned up. I can see Yemisi here, Tochuku is here,
Thank you,
Oluchimadu is here.
everyone, for joining. I can't
Amazing.
see those
Thank
names. I don't know
you.
where you're seeing
Yeah,
them.
it's because of the application I'm using. That's why.
Okay.
So I
Well,
can
I
see
can't see
here.
them, but thank you all for joining. I
Thank you.
really appreciate your
Thank
time
you
and your
so, so
presence.
much. All
Thank
right,
you,
ma. Thank
Anita.
you. I hope to do this again some other time. God bless
Absolutely.
you. Goodbye.
You too. Thanks. Bye.